and learn people who are going to make you positive. It's important to have those talks, especially with middle school and high school kids, because sometimes they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't, when they're like 6th graders, they don't know. They think they know, and I remind them, no, you don't. But influence them to make good friend choices too, and that affects how they act in your class.
Yeah.
Because you see them click up, and you're like, oh gosh, so-and-so's hanging with them. I hope it doesn't, turn them away, or oh my gosh, so-and-so's hanging with them, and I try to group them with different groups of people every 6 weeks to give them a different experience. And it amazes me every single time. At the beginning, I was like, oh, why did I do this? Oh my gosh, I hate it. I don't like the way they're arguing with, but by the end, they're usually friends. They usually are friends with someone they would have never talked to, thought about crossing paths with, never had another class with them, friends. Because of a placing of seeding. Amazing. I mean, it truly is. 6 weeks. That's it. It's so quick. 45 minutes in my class. Okay? But those little things make all the world of difference. Your relationship is everything. So find a way to connect with those kids, whether it's just something funny, like after notes, I put up a bowl of cereal and milk. I said, so what's the right way to do it? Cereal first and milk first. And they went on like 20 minutes about this. I'm like, okay. But it's those little things to remind you, like, Miss Jefferson's a human too. Like, I think about, like, what music do you listen to? What do you, like, let them know something, not everything. Let them know something so that they can try to connect to you.
I also, my second year of teaching, when I had those 2 ED kids, I was really blessed to have administrators who sent me to Capturing Kids' Hearts, and it just happened to be in the Houston area, and I asked to go to it, and it's like $800 to send a teacher to, but one of the strategies that I got from there was to do good things. So every morning we start with, I play a 3-minute song, and I have my phone hooked up to a Bluetooth speaker, and it's called the Good Morning Song. It's by Mandisa Toginak, I think. And I play that song, and my kids all share something good, or I get through as many as possible. And then, of course, I still have the kids that linger and say, but I didn't get to share my good thing. I either have lunch or recess duty every day. Come find me, come talk to me, share your good thing. But 9 times out of 10, my kids are doing this sign, like, I was thinking the same thing, or that happened to me, or they have to show the connection sign, like, oh, I have a connection to that. And then conversations start up on the playground. We also do affirmations, and that's another Capturing Kids' Heart strategy. So my kids write notes to each other, and it's usually on a Post-it note, and they'll stick it up. And then on Friday, whoever the mail person is delivers them to everyone's tables, and they find something good in a peer. Whether it be an outfit, whether it be the way they answered a question, whether it be something they shared during good things, whether it just be a quality they like about that person. And in the beginning, it was notoriously like the same few people getting affirmations. But by the end, everyone had mail, and the mailman was like going forever. It became like a half an hour process. But little things like that where they're able to connect to each other are everything. And I start those from the beginning of the year because my kids need to understand that this is a classroom family. In fact, like my whole classroom name for like ever has been the Smith family because my last name's Smith, so everyone knows Miss Smith's class is over there. That's the Smith family. And my AP comes and reads my class every Friday. She's like, hey, Smith family. But those affirmations too, not just getting them from each other, but getting them from you. So I will surprise my class every once in a while and pop in an entire set of 20 or 22 Post-it notes with their names on them and like something I like about them or something I noticed that they did well that week. And I sign my name on it, and my kids save them in their supply boxes until we clean them out. But those little climate building activities promote such a community culture in your classroom, and yes, they take a little bit of extra time, but it is so worth it. And then I also make sure that I'm standing by my door every morning and my kids can either give me a hug, a handshake, or a high five. And having that quick 1-minute check-in with every child has either put out fires or started that child's fire for the day, because you never know what child comes in your room that does not receive a hug. So those itty-bitty moments are everything.
Today, it's so important. I found this. I didn't do this my first year, but just to say hello and good morning as they walk in. I just witnessed today the student, like at the end of the hall, got in trouble because he ran through the hall. This other teacher was yelling at him. So he walked down the hall like really angry. He went in front of my classroom, but I was standing there like I could tell he was in a bad mood. I was like, "Are you okay? Good morning. Like, how are you?" And then like, you know, I just saw him, took a breath. Good morning, Miss Laser. And like, so it kind of brightened him up.
Yeah. It is important to be there, and I do handshakes with my kids. So in elementary, I'd let them pick one person pick the handshake of the week, and so they're like, oh, the other kids, I was like, "Can we do the handshake?" I'm like, "Only Miss Jefferson's class." So like we do whatever. By the end of the year, like handshakes would make people late to dismiss. I'm like, okay, half the handshake. But little things like that, I do it with my middle school kids too. They love it, and so I'm like looking up what handshake do I do tomorrow. But I also did something kind of like her. We call it our appreciation circle. My old principal trained us in tribes, which is just a way you can build relationships with kids. And I had a kudo jar where, like, kind of like that, they put sticky notes in there, and at the end of the week, they take as many. I divided by them the amount of kids, so like 2 or 3 at first, and it ended up being like 5, 6. I kept them at the end of the year and gave them to them at their like end of the year party. And those kids are like clinging to them. I'm clinging to them too, because there'd be some weeks I'm like, man, I'm not doing anything right. And I'd get a kudo. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like that made me feel good. So imagine how it makes them feel. But I don't regret spending that time. Like you said, it's like 30 or so minutes. But having those at the end of the year, and I go back and look at mine sometimes when I'm not having such a great week. But I actually got the idea when I was here. Here in Res Life, I had a kudo jar. One year I was like, okay, let's do a kudo. And everybody's like, what? And you would be amazed when the morale of your team is down, because you're going to have those days. You've been with Dr. K, you have those blue card days, okay? And you need some orange cards. You cling to that. I'm serious. And we get that note, and I'm like, okay, I think I can keep pushing on. So those little things are so big, especially the little itty bitties.
What's a blue card and orange card?
That was through, I just wrote a paper before I left grad school. I forget the person's name, but the blue cards are the positives. So you need 3 blue cards to every orange card you receive. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Harry Wong. It was,
I can't remember.
oh, I forget the guy's name right now. But you need 3 blue cards and 3 positives to every orange card. I think it's 3. But when you give someone a blue card, it makes them feel good, it's positive. If it's an orange card, it's like totally an energy sucker. But blue cards are everything.
What are some of your greatest successes with students with disabilities?
I could write a novel. Equal as struggles too. But
I have currently an ED student. Okay, at the beginning of the year.
Student with ED.
Huh?
Student with
Oh, emotionally disturbed.
no, student with ED.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I caught myself earlier as I said that too in my brain.
My teacher English will give me a mess enough already. Yeah, excuse me. Thank you for that. Yeah, so in the beginning of the year, I was in close contact with his mom, and he wouldn't submit any work. And in fact, I have these tables in my room, these round tables that are like I fought for very much so my first year teaching, and now I'm very happy to have them in my room. And he like segregates himself from the rest of the class, and we struggled a lot, like with all the teachers, all 6 of his teachers. We would always come together during ARD meetings and talk about what we could do for him. And then I got the laptops in my classroom, right? We won these grants, and he started producing work when he had the electronic device in front of him. However, there was this whole incident one time when I was out when I had a substitute. And please be detailed when you have special ed students in your classroom what the sub needs to do, because I made that fatal mistake and I didn't let them know. And the sub took the laptop away from him, and he freaked out and he was so upset with me. And he told me the next day, and we had a whole discussion outside. But everything he produced, especially reading this play that we're on right now, 12 Angry Men, was awesome. Like, I didn't even know that all these thoughts were running through his head. And I told him it's grammar free. I'm not taking points off for mechanical errors, none of that stuff. And he just wrote this beautiful piece, especially because we have STAR, because we're a public school and we take STAR tests. And I was just so, like, I wanted to cry, especially because putting it in front of his mom, I'm like, your son, your 16-year-old son came up with this, like, from doing nothing to, like, writing a whole essay, eloquent, beautiful, well-written. And so that was a very much a epiphany moment. It's glorious. All because of, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like tech integrated classrooms, but I'm all for it, especially because it's what happened with him.
I would say I had a student that just was a struggle baby all year, and I just had, like I told you earlier, a gut feeling that something wasn't right. And I didn't speak to this earlier, but look at the quality of the student, not quantitative. I was kind of in like a fight with some of my admin because they were like, well, he has a so-and-so in your class. I said, I know because he can grade tests and do this, but I was like, I see this every day. And, you know, my partner teacher noticed the same thing, and I was like, what's going on? Like, I've tried this. I literally set something down next to him, write the same thing, like an example of it. Couldn't do it. And I'm like, something's like, there's some kind of disconnect, something's wrong. And we went through the whole RTI process of the 6 weeks, and I'm just seeing him struggle every day. And you could, the beginning of the year, the confidence and the willingness to like keep do whatever for me, and it just started to wane. And it was really tough. We had a good relationship with his mom. It was just tough to talk about, you know, this is what's happening, the behavior, like we got to get him help soon, but we were just had our hands tied to the process. But getting him labeled was best for him. He needed the extra support that I couldn't give him. Like, I'd started the beginning of the year and like he had all my small group time. So all these other kids were not getting anything. And I was like, I want to help you, but I have to help all these other kids. And just getting to the point where he had tools to help him was the biggest things. I wanted him to be able to go to the next grade level knowing that he could do the work. He just needed these tools that he's been missing and just had some gaps. But it was such a struggle, and I found myself getting upset, but I was like, but it's best for him. And so getting through that and working through that 6 weeks of our tier 1, 6 weeks of tier 2, and then finally getting past tier 3, looking at, you know, special ed paperwork was a success because we wanted to get him something. And so although we didn't get to see everything implemented, we got him in it before he moved on and had more gaps. And it lost more self-confidence because that's what kids lack more than anything, confidence. And it's just so sad to see like how low confidence can be at such a young age. So to see him kind of gain some of that back was the biggest success to me.
One of my kids came in, my third year of teaching was my first year being self-contained, and one of the beauties of being at a small school is everybody knows everybody. And when they were making class lists, there was a little boy, his name was Luke, and they said, who wants Luke? Crickets. Nobody wanted Luke. I said, I'll take Luke. I'd seen Luke in the hallways. He was kind of the running joke his first year of kindergarten when he was in kinder because he slept every day. Legit every day. You'd go in, he was having a hardcore nap on the table, drool and all. And they made him repeat kindergarten. And he repeated kindergarten with a teacher who was just very loud, very abrasive, very rough with him. And by the time I got him in first grade, he came to me incredibly defeated. He came to me not able to write. He came to me not able to identify all of his alphabet still after 2 years of kindergarten. He came to me not able to identify any sight words because, of course, he couldn't identify all of his letters. And he came to me with a lot of struggles with his attention. He wasn't sleeping. Nap time was no more. But he just came to me way below where his peers came to me. And staying perseverant and incredibly persistent, calm, positive with him, and moving him right up to the front with his desk. So he was literally right next to my elbow. And he was my shadow all day long. He started to kind of come out of his shell, but I could still tell he was very, very hesitant. So I continued to build my relationship with him. I built my relationship with his mom, partnered with her a lot, and of course she hadn't seen some of the same struggles as I had seen with him because of course she didn't have them in an academic setting. So I used Class Dojo like it's my life, and would send lots of pictures of like, this is what Luke did today that was awesome. He did like to draw pictures. So instead of writing his stories in the beginning, he would draw pictures and then he would narrate them to me, very much like beginning of the year kinder, so I would write out everything he was narrating. And finally, I got him to write actual like letters and eventually words on unlined paper. We moved to like wider lines, we moved to thinner lines, and slowly but surely Luke started to pick up. Of course, there still was not something completely right about him, so I continued to document, continued to partner with my SPED department. He eventually ended up going and getting an FIE, so he got that full of individual evaluation. I filled out a buttload of paperwork, surveys, things that I noticed with him, things that worked, things that didn't work. He ended up being identified as a child with AU. So he was identified as autistic, and long story made incredibly short, he ended up becoming an on-level reader with the rest of his peers. He ended up becoming an on-level writer. He ended up needing some accommodations, and one of those being extra time. He also ended up being diagnosed with ADHD, so he did end up taking one of the only, I think the only liquid ADHD medication on the market, but that helped him tremendously. Before that, we tried essential oils, we tried fish oil, you name it, we tried it as far as strategies with ADHD, and nothing worked except for this new medication. Fast forward to the end of the year, and even with his accommodations and stuff, Luke was soaring. You could never tell that this child came in the way that he did. We looked at pictures from the beginning of the year to the end of the year at one of my last meetings with his mom, and we were both bawling. But Teacher Appreciation Week, his mom came in the last day, it was a Friday, and she was standing by my desk, and I was waiting on my kids to come back from out class. Full plate of food, Cinco de Mayo. So the custodians and the cafeteria workers make us this huge feast. Standing there making small talk with her, all of a sudden my class starts coming back. And this was not I guess to rewind for a second, a family that was very big with praise. They thanked me often for things that were going on in the classroom, stories Luke would come home and tell, things I would send in on Dojo, but my class started coming back one by one and they all had a rose in their hand. And I was like, okay. And they were like, we love you, Miss Smith, happy Teacher Appreciation, blah, 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 one by one, right? Of course, I'm looking for, where is Luke? Because Luke is usually at the front of the line. He usually leads the class back, and God forbid he be at the end. So I get to like my last few kids, and I'm still like, where on God's green earth is Luke? And I'm really worried. His mom's sitting right next to me. I can't have lost this child. So he's at the very end of my line, and he had a dozen of roses, but then at the end, under the roses, there was this big sign his mom had made or purchased or whatever, and it said, God gave me you. And I was bawling. His mom, like, inconspicuously videoed the whole thing, but little did I know I changed the trajectory of that child's entire life. And even now that he's in 3rd grade and he is soaring, I still have his teachers, I had his teachers last year and his teachers this year come to me saying, okay, so we see this on paperwork, but what actually works? What did you do? Because all he talks about, well, Miss Smith this, Miss Smith that. And I can only imagine everything that I taught Luke that I will never know about, but he taught me more than I will ever teach him. And he will be a child I keep in touch with my entire life because he's amazing. Thank you. That was probably like my greatest and best moment as a teacher, was changing Luke's life.
I don't know if we can top that one.
I was like,
Anyone else?
that's not going to be as good as that one.
That may be a good note to stop on. So first, let's give our appreciation. There were so many gems that all of you shared with this group. I hope all of you were listening. We recorded them so you can listen to it again if you need to. tell you, as your former teacher, I am just so proud of each of you, how you have turned out and what you're doing, and you are making a huge difference in kids' lives, and that's clearly evident to me. So I'm thrilled to have you back and thrilled to remember my time with each of you. Thank you for doing it. So guys, I said it would be 8 o'clock, so it's a little after 8, so thank you for your patience and for listening. I hope you got a lot out of it, and we'll see you on Thursday morning. I'll see you right now.